Inside a hospital room where sunlight filtered in through the morning light, Olivia Wilson diligently checked a patient's vital signs. Working as a nurse at Northwest Regional Hospital, Olivia had garnered her patients' trust due to her dedicated care. Her smartphone buzzed with a message from her husband, Robert. "Don't forget dinner at Mom's tonight. It's the last meeting for Vanessa's wedding." Olivia sighed. Since marrying Robert Wilson 5 years ago, she struggled to get along with her mother-in-law, Carol. Carol, hailing from a prestigious family in the Boston suburbs, viewed her son's marriage to a nurse from a middle-class background as unsatisfactory. Following the COVID pandemic, Olivia's workload had skyrocketed, yet Carol and Robert's sister, Vanessa, often demeaned her profession as merely that of a nurse. Additionally, Carol expressed disappointment in Olivia and Robert's lack of children, slipping phrases like duty to carry on the family lineage into conversations. When they arrived at Carol's opulent mansion in the tranquil Bridgewater area, Vanessa's luxury vehicle was already parked. The reception room found Carol and Vanessa engaged in earnest discussion on the sofa. "Finally, you're here," Carol greeted with a cool smile. "Where's Robert?" "Work ran late. Shall we start without him?" Vanessa was busy planning her wedding to Michael Stanford, set for the following month. Michael, an executive at a real estate firm, represented for Carol a prime opportunity to elevate her social standing. "We were just finalizing the guest list," mentioned Vanessa, brushing her hair back gracefully. "You and Robert will naturally be at the family table, of course. Let me know if I can help," Olivia offered. "Thank you, but the planner and we have it all under control," Vanessa swiftly replied, her tone dismissive. Conversations shifted to wedding aspects, with Olivia quietly listening, her opinions never sought. The living room brimming with Wilson family photos, yet hers and Robert's wedding portrait was unnoticeably small and off to the side. Robert finally arrived, kissed Olivia, and joined her on the sofa. As dinner drew near, the conversation turned to the Stanford family's affluence and reputation. Suddenly, Carol addressed Olivia. "Could we receive a little additional support this month? There are extra expenses for Vanessa's wedding." Both Olivia and Robert regularly contributed financially to Carol following Robert's father's passing, which was crucial for sustaining her lavish lifestyle. As the evening ended, Martha, the housekeeper, quietly approached Olivia. "Mrs. Wilson, regarding tomorrow's wedding rehearsal, what time will the servants arrive?" "The help? I'm a guest, Martha," Olivia replied, puzzled. Martha looked down, embarrassed. "Apologies, madam." Once in the car, Olivia felt exhausted from always being seen as an outsider, leaving her wondering what treatment awaited her at Vanessa's wedding. Her past encounters gave her little hope, yet for Robert's sake, she prepared to stay dignified and resilient. On the day of the wedding, a brilliant azure sky stretched above the Windsor Hotel in Boston's upscale area. Olivia, filled with nerves that morning, calmed herself with Robert's assurance, "It's Vanessa's important day. Let's celebrate with them." As she styled her hair in the mirror, she chose a simple yet graceful navy dress, ensuring Carol would find no fault. "You look beautiful," Robert commented, laying his hands on her shoulders, smiling at her reflection. "Let's get going. You know how Mother gets if we're late." When they arrived, the parking lot overflowed with luxury cars. After Robert parked, Olivia took a deep breath to ready herself, aware of her strained ties with the in-laws, but hoping for calm. Through the lavish lobby, they made their way to the wedding reception area. Adorned with floral arrangements and white ribbons, the reception desk staff welcomed guests with smiles. "Mr. and Mrs. Wilson," Robert announced, as the receptionist checked the list, pulling out name tags. "Mr. Robert and Miss Olivia, here are your tags for today. Please wear them on the left side." Olivia took hers, casually looking down, her smile faltering. Her tag blatantly read, "Olivia Wilson, housekeeper." She couldn't grasp it at first. "This is—" Olivia's voice wavered. Robert, examining his own tag labeled simply with Robert Wilson, son of Carol Wilson, looked puzzled. "Is something wrong?" came a cold voice from behind. Turning, they saw Carol, in a refined light purple dress, displaying a smug smile. Carol, it appears there's an issue with this tag, Olivia said, maintaining calmness. Carol pretended to glance at it. Oh, is there? Isn't your role just a servant in this family? Such words cut deeply, as sharp as a blade. The scrutiny from the guests encircled Olivia, sparking curious and disdainful looks her way. Olivia's face turned red, tears threatening to spill from her eyes, but she fought to maintain her composure. What are you saying? Robert finally grasped the gravity of the situation and clutched his mother's arm. I'll fix this right away, he declared. No, Robert, Olivia gently insisted. Today is Vanessa's day. We shouldn't create a scene. She tucked the name tag into her chest pocket, a quiet act of defiance. Robert's anger was evident, his face flushed, but he fell silent when Olivia squeezed his hand firmly. That is wise, Carol murmured. Let's proceed to the ceremony hall. Michael's parents are waiting, she said, gliding away and leaving Olivia and Robert behind. Unbelievable, Robert muttered, clenching his teeth. I'll speak to Mother immediately. Not now, Olivia urged, taking his arm. Today isn't a day for arguments. Let's discuss it later. The ceremony was executed beautifully. Vanessa, radiant in a white lace gown, stood beside Michael, whose expression was overflowing with love. However, Olivia felt weighed down, aware all through the event of Carol's frosty glance. Following the ceremony, the guests transitioned to the opulent ballroom of the hotel for the reception. Exquisite round tables were set, each adorned with guest name displays. Olivia and Robert were directed to the family table and settled in their seats. Are you all right? Robert asked her softly. Yes, she replied with a fragile smile. I'll try not to let it bother me. Seated at the table with them were Carol, Michael's parents James and Eleanor Stanford, along with several other close relatives. The newlyweds occupied a nearby table, and as congratulatory speeches ensued, waiters began serving the meal. As sumptuous starters were placed at each place setting, Olivia noticed the unsettling absence of food at her plate alone. Excuse me, Olivia called out to a passing server. My meal? The servant offered an apologetic expression, stating, I'm sorry, but these are my orders. Robert was on the brink of standing in outrage when his sister Vanessa called him to the groom's table, and he complied. Left alone, Olivia felt the sting of embarrassment and anger take over her. Vanessa materialized beside Olivia with a menacing smile as she asked, What's the matter? In a sinister whisper, Meals are for the true family. People like you aren't part of that. That set the tipping point. The culmination of belittlement, petty threats, and icy gazes reached a peak. Olivia rose slowly, laying her napkin on the table, making the room turn silent, all eyes on her. The solemnity of her decision took over as she announced, If that's how it is, then I shouldn't be here. Her tone was low, yet unwavering. Carol seemed ready to retort, but whether Olivia heard or cared was uncertain as she disengaged and placed her wedding ring down, its delicate chime audible against the marble. If I'm not family, then I'll go. The air around went as still as if doused in ice water. She noticed Robert hurrying back past Vanessa's table, but Olivia had already begun leaving. Robert's voice was a distant call behind. Olivia, wait. Carol's desperate attempt echoed. It's just a joke. Return, but Olivia's pace didn't falter. She walked with poise, straightening her posture, and exited the venue while holding her dignity intact. Turning back briefly at the door, she saw Carol looking ghostly pale, Vanessa silent and gaping in surprise, and evident anger marked on the faces of Michael's parents, especially Eleanor Stanford. Passing through the hotel lobby, Olivia inhaled deeply upon reaching outside. Her heart ached, but she also sensed an overwhelming, fresh liberation, freeing from the wrath and degradation suffered over time. As she made to hail a taxi, footsteps came from behind. Turning, it was Michael's mother, Eleanor, rushing toward her. Wait. Eleanor gently grasped her arm. What happened is inexcusable. Carol and Vanessa's actions leave me speechless. Olivia, attempting to stifle tears, smiled faintly. Thank you, Eleanor, but I really must leave. I can't stay. I understand, Eleanor acknowledged, but know you carried yourself with courage and grace. With those comforting words, Olivia mustered an authentic smile for the first time that day. She hailed a taxi and headed home. As Olivia departed, overshadowing tension remained at the wedding celebration. Robert returned hastily, finding his wife's wedding band. What occurred? Where is Olivia? He demanded urgently. Carol, masking her distress, replied with a strained smile. Just a simple misunderstanding, Robert. She'll be back shortly. However, Michael's mother Eleanor interjected sternly. It's no misunderstanding. I witnessed all that you and Vanessa did to Olivia. Robert's gaze darkened with rage. The moment he picked up his wife's name tag from the table, his expression shifted from anger to pure rage. What have you done? He demanded, his voice losing its usual calm. Where is Olivia's meal? Why was she the only one not served? Michael stood beside Vanessa, also coming to terms with the situation. What is happening, Vanessa? Vanessa turned red, beginning to offer excuses. It was just a joke, Michael. She just took it too seriously. A joke. Michael's voice dripped with disbelief. Is calling someone a housekeeper and not serving them food considered a joke? Guests around the venue started whispering among themselves as rumors began to take hold. Michael's father rose quietly, looking at Carol with a severe expression. This behavior is unacceptable. His voice was low yet authoritative. Our family values respect and strong family bonds. We cannot associate with a family that treats people so inhumanely. Eleanor stood by her husband's side, nodding in agreement. Our blessing for your marriage is on hold. We cannot proceed with the ceremony under these circumstances. The color drained from Vanessa's face. But it's my special day. Michael, taking his fiancée's hand, said sternly, Vanessa, if this reflects your true nature, we need to seriously reconsider our future together. Robert, no longer paying attention, grasped the name tag tightly and said, I'm going to find Olivia, then left the venue immediately. Outside, hotel staff were arranging a taxi for Olivia. Robert hurried to the parking lot, got in his car, gripping the steering wheel desperately and driving home quickly, repeatedly apologizing in his mind. When Olivia reached home, she hesitated at the entrance, thinking about how this house symbolized her love with Robert, but doubt now clouded her heart. Unlocking the door and stepping into the empty house, she sat on the sofa and cried quietly. 20 minutes later, she heard the front door open. Robert entered, breathless. Olivia, he called, his voice full of sorrow and concern. Olivia looked up, tears streaming at the sight of her husband. Sitting beside her, Robert embraced her tightly and said softly, Mother and Vanessa's actions are unforgivable. You mean the world to me. I'm deeply sorry for how they behaved. In her husband's arms, Olivia felt small. Why do I still feel like an outsider, even after 5 years together? You are not an outsider, Robert said, holding her face in his hands. You are my family, my everything. Mother and Vanessa's values aren't mine. They stayed close together for a long time. The sun began to set, casting a twilight glow into the room. Finally, Olivia asked quietly, What do we do now? Robert replied with determination, First, I'm cutting off financial support to Mother immediately. I don't need to fund her luxurious lifestyle any longer. Olivia looked at him, surprised. Really? But Carol, Mother should bear the consequences, Robert asserted. She still has plenty of assets. She'll just have to do without the mansion and high social standing. Olivia nodded slowly. Her wounded heart was still heavy, but her husband's determination inspired her. What about our relationship with them? She asked cautiously. We should keep our distance for a while, Robert said, holding her hand, until Mother and Vanessa truly reflect and apologize. They sat together, discussing the future amidst sadness and anger, feeling a new resolve beginning to form. How about a weekend getaway? Just the two of us? Robert suggested shyly. I know a lovely cottage along the Maine coast. A smile returned to Olivia's face. That sounds wonderful. We need some time for ourselves. That night, their phones rang constantly, calls from Carol, Vanessa, even Michael, but they did not answer. They needed this time for themselves. The next morning, Robert contacted the bank to halt automatic transfers to his mother's account. Olivia called her workplace, requesting a few days off. Her supervisor understood, saying, "You've always supported others. You deserve to take some time for yourself." Desperate messages from Carol kept coming, but Robert replied calmly, "We need some time. Your and Vanessa's actions were unacceptable. Olivia is my wife and my family. If you cannot accept that, we need to reevaluate our relationship." While packing, Olivia glanced out the window, seeing the morning sunlight illuminate the garden flowers, heralding a new day. The humiliation and sorrow from the previous day still lingered in her heart, but she also felt a strange liberation. "I'm ready." Robert put his hand on her shoulder. Olivia turned to him and smiled. "Yes, let's go." As they left the house, they picked up a letter from the mailbox. It was from Michael. Olivia opened it in the car, and they read it together. "I sincerely apologize for yesterday's events. I was shocked by Vanessa's family's behavior." Robert and Olivia faced a difficult period as their wedding plans were abruptly paused. Olivia's parents insisted that such a decision was mandatory given the circumstances. Robert informed Vanessa to reevaluate things seriously, mentioning Olivia's admirable stance. "Safe travels, Michael Stanford," was the concluding note. After reading the message in silence, Robert started their car and drove towards the coast. A week passed by. Olivia and Robert spent this time by the serene sea, mending their emotional scars. During one peaceful morning as they finished breakfast at their humble cottage in Maine, Robert's phone rang. Recognizing the caller as his mother, he hesitated but chose not to respond. "Carol?" Olivia inquired while gazing at the tranquil view outside. "Yes, it's the 10th call just since yesterday," Robert lamented as he sipped his coffee. "I've also received several from Vanessa," Olivia noted, showing the unopened messages on her own phone that read, "Olivia, please get in touch. I'm sincerely sorry." The couple continued their meal silently as the sea breeze danced through the window. "Maybe they just need more time," Robert speculated quietly about their family's contrition. "I'll respect what you decide, yet we can't ignore them indefinitely," Olivia conceded. "I understand," Robert sighed, the memory of that day still heavy. As their getaway came to an end, and Robert returned the cottage keys, he looked puzzled. "Something wrong?" Olivia asked. He mentioned a noteworthy article in the local paper. The Stanford family announced a charitable initiative for healthcare workers. Olivia commented in surprise while reading about Eleanor Stanford's words of admiration for heroes' dedication. "Is it related to me?" Olivia whispered. "I'm unsure. The timing makes one wonder," Robert assured her. Quietly, they packed their belongings into the car and headed home. Waiting for them were letters, including the formal postponement notice from Michael and a personal apology from the Stanford family. 3 weeks after their homecoming, Olivia was back at her hospital duties, displaying a newfound confidence and resolve noted by her colleagues. One evening after her shift, in the hospital parking lot, she noticed a familiar vehicle. Carol Wilson awaited there, appearing less polished, simply dressed, and visibly weary. "Can we talk?" Carol pleaded, her voice unsteady. Olivia paused to listen to a mother-in-law who once seemed only proud and prejudiced, now appearing so vulnerable. Agreeing to talk, they went to a nearby cafe. Carol ordered coffee but barely touched it as she confessed, pride made her blind to Olivia's worth. Olivia silently absorbed her words, contemplating their sincerity. "Have you had news from the Stanfords?" Carol inquired. "Yes, both from Michael and his parents," Olivia replied. Carol nodded with a bitter smile. "They ended contact with us. Michael promised to reflect if Vanessa truly changes." "And Vanessa?" "She's self-reflecting too," Carol noted, silently hopeful. Between them extended a thoughtful silence. Beyond the window, passers-by were hurrying. "I'm selling the mansion," Carol admitted sudden. "Without Robert's help, I can't keep it going, planning to downscale into a smaller flat." Olivia was taken aback by the transformation. Carol, who once prized status above all, now accepting a simpler living. Carol, With consideration in her voice, Olivia explained, "I can forgive, but trust takes time to heal." Understanding fully, Carol accepted. "I just hope for a chance from Robert and you," she implored. That evening, Olivia recounted her conversation with Carol to Robert. Listening intently, he nodded. "Next weekend we'll visit her," he concluded, noting their relationship wouldn't revert to old ways. The following weekend, they visited Carol's new, modest living quarters. Offering a warm welcome, she surprised them with a homemade lunch. "Did you cook?" Robert asked, surprised at seeing his mother take such effort. "Yes," Carol admitted, slightly embarrassed. "I'm learning as the wind stirred the trees and golden leaves fell." Olivia and Robert sat on their porch, watching the sunset. "I never imagined," Olivia mused, resting her head on Robert's shoulder, "that such a humiliating day would bring about such change." Robert held her close, saying, "It's because of your courage. You changed everything." That day, though the future was unclear, they had taken an important step forward. Over time, Carol began opening up about her realizations, admitting, "I've always judged people by wealth and status, but now I understand how empty that was." Her daughter-in-law, Olivia, noticed a genuine change in Carol, not merely superficial, but something deeper. When Robert inquired about Vanessa, Carol replied that she too was struggling. "Michael has been supportive, yet she knows the change must come from within," Carol noted. Before leaving, Carol gave Olivia a small gift, a silver bracelet engraved with the words, "Family is bound by love, not blood." Carol acknowledged, "I have much to learn, but I wish to truly recognize you as my family, Olivia." From that day, their relationship began to heal. Robert partially resumed financial aid to Carol, limiting it to necessities, unlike the previous unconditional support. Carol accepted this and adjusted to a more modest life. A month later, Vanessa visited Olivia for the first time. Her past arrogance dissolved. She sincerely apologized. "I'll regret that day forever. I've realized my pettiness. I do not seek forgiveness. I want change." Olivia, smiling gently, said, "People can change, Vanessa, both you and I." As autumn deepened, the family started attending counseling sessions to foster healthy relationships. The initial meetings were tense, but necessary. A year later, Olivia and Robert hosted a small barbecue party in their backyard. Olivia, 6 months pregnant, adorned the garden table, looking forward to their first child. "Don't carry that," shouted Carol, taking a fruit platter from Olivia's hands. Over the past year, Carol had transformed significantly, residing in a modest apartment and volunteering at Olivia's hospital. While Olivia expressed gratitude, "Thank you, Carol," their bond wasn't fully healed but was evolving based on mutual respect. Vanessa and Michael, having married in a modest ceremony 6 months earlier, reflected this change as well. Letting go of superiority, Vanessa approached her relationship with a newfound humility. "How's the baby?" Vanessa asked Olivia warmly. "Very lively, especially at night," laughed Olivia. Robert, watching them bond, smiled. Such genuine interaction between his wife and family had once seemed impossible. "Let's toast to healthy family relationships," Michael suggested, lifting his glass. "To healthy family relationships," echoed everyone, raising their glasses enthusiastically. After the meal, Carol presented Olivia with a handmade baby blanket. "I knitted it myself," Carol mentioned, slightly shy. "It's not perfect, but I put my heart into it." Moved, Olivia embraced her mother-in-law. "It's beautiful, thank you." As dusk enveloped the garden, Olivia and Robert reflected on their journey. "That wedding was a turning point for all of us," Olivia remarked quietly. Robert nodded. "Sometimes painful moments lead to the greatest growth." Carol, overhearing, smiled softly, ready to welcome her first grandchild, internalizing past lessons. "I've finally understood," she reflected softly. "Real family is not bound by blood, but by love and respect." Under the emerging stars, they conversed and laughed together. Olivia, having overcome past pain, emerged more confident and self-assured, and the whole family grew from that painful chapter. A new story was about to begin, perhaps imperfect, but more beautifully rooted in truth and dignity.